my belief that all three men, they were murdered. And probably there may be untold stories that have not come to light as yet, and we probably will. That will ensure that these policemen are charged for murder. They're murderers.
The police are saying that your brother had a previous record, had cases before the court. Could you shed some light?
Can I respond to that? Because I know that's where they're going to want to head to. Assuming that this was a mass murder, walking down the seawall by himself, walking his dog, with all the awful convictions behind him, is the argument that the police are entitled to execute him because he is a mass murderer. Because if you allow us to drift to that stage, it means that when people who may not be possessed of that sort of reputation end up as the victims, then it's going to be justifiable, and that is the real issue here. What I will say, and I won't disclose the source, is that I have interviewed another eyewitness who said that the car that apparently was used to lure these persons to this location. Actually, I better not say more than that until I've secured that. I'll leave that as it is.
But if it's not too much to reveal, were you able to determine whether or not the car that the three men were in, indeed, whether the police used a decoy or not, did they follow that car from the bank to the seawall?
If I've been able to determine
that, yes.
I don't want to disclose what I have, but I will say this again. If you were following somebody and you had not presented a threat to anybody, I don't believe that that is the basis for the police to take you out when there's no threat. I think the reason why we have the rule of law is so that you pick people up who, if they are acting suspiciously or if they have committed a breach of the law, that you bring them to justice and that you don't leave it in the hands of somebody who's got a gun. That's why we have the state. That's why we have the rule of law. So I understand the enthusiasm of the Guyana Police Force wanting to spend a lot of time on the reputations of these gentlemen, but that is not the issue here. The point is the state is not entitled to execute people at random, whatever their reputation will be. And this is not a battle of trying to defend the good or other name of any of the deceased. It is the circumstances in which they met their death. And if it appears as the way that it took place, the manner in which Mr. Light said it done, it's an execution.
Were you able also to determine whether or not gunpowder residue was extracted from your client's hand or clothing?
That is a matter that would be entirely within the hands of the Guyana Police Force. As you know, we were 2 weeks away. I wouldn't have that. I was retained on this last night, and I wouldn't have the access to that information. That's a question that probably should be directed to the Commission.
And Mr. Hughes, you fought cases like these for many years, these types of executions under one government. The government is now in power. The government you supported. Are you surprised with the silence coming from the government, even in wake of all the concerns being expressed publicly for the past 2 weeks about this particular case?
I want to say something about your statements. This is not an issue of whether I supported the government in the past or not. This is a question of whether or not citizens of the country are entitled to the protection of the rule of law. It is really irrelevant to me who is in office. The consequence of that argument is if the government in office happens to be one that you like, then you should turn a blind eye to what is unjust.
I'm asking if you're surprised with their silence, knowing that the government that's now in office as opposition, with you being part of that movement.
That was back then. But yeah. What I will say is that at the end of the day, governments tend to want to protect their state agents. So whenever they get into office, despite whatever their protestations are before they get into office, they then start to protect the people who are there to protect them in office and carry out the law. So I don't believe that the conduct of this government is any different from its predecessor. And not that I necessarily expected, I hope perhaps for different conduct, but I don't expect anything different. This is an execution, and it doesn't matter who the president is or which party is in power. The citizen at the end of the day needs to be protected from this sort of arbitrary action by agents of the state.
Finally from me, before you were retained as attorney, were you at any point satisfied with the Commissioner of Police's response to the shooting of the three men?
When I read the